As Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky was broadcasting news of successful counterattacks in the Donbass, a series of powerful explosions shook Ukraine's capital Kyiv overnight. Smoke billowed over the city, whose mayor Vitaly Klitschko confirmed that the first attacks on the city in weeks had indeed taken place. Klitschko said missiles had hit unspecified infrastructure targets but caused no deaths. The attack comes just as life in Kyiv had begun to resemble a kind of normality after Russia decided to concentrate its forces in the east. OK, let's go straight to DW correspondent Jan-Philipp Scholz, who's standing by for us in Kyiv. Jan-Philipp, what can you tell us about the explosions heard in Kyiv early this morning?
We were woken up by air raid alerts in the early morning hours, and from what we know right now, there have been some explosions in two districts in the eastern and northeastern part of Kiev. Several eyewitnesses say that they saw smoke rising there, and Kiev's mayor Vitaly Klitschko said that services are already operating on the ground. We don't know yet what has been hit exactly, but there is at least one person injured and treated in a hospital, according to local officials.
Jan-Philipp, I'll get you to stay with us. We'll come back to you in a moment. First, let's take a look at the eastern city of Sievierodonetsk. Ukraine says it has recaptured parts of the city from Russian forces. Ukrainian troops have been battling to hang on there, their last stronghold in the region of Luhansk.
For days, Russian firepower has been concentrated in Donbass. Local officials say Ukrainian forces are putting up a fierce fight, though claims from both sides are difficult to verify. In an interview, the governor of the Luhansk region says Russia is suffering significant losses.
The reason Russians are blowing up bridges is to stop our reinforcements in Sievierodonetsk. Our guys are defending the whole Luhansk region, and the Russians are afraid our defenders will stay successful.
According to information from Ukraine, Russia has been pushed back from moving into territory west of Sievierodonetsk, striking a blow to Russian efforts to claim the entire Donbass region. For its part, Russia says its military has managed several successful attacks. This footage is from the Russian Defense Ministry, and the location cannot be verified. But Russia says its forces shot down a Ukrainian plane carrying weapons and munitions near the Black Sea port of Odessa. The ministry says Russian missiles also struck an artillery training center in the Sumy region, where foreign instructors worked. In the capital, Kyiv, the US ambassador to Ukraine promised America will assist with investigations into thousands of war crimes allegations against the Russian army.
I think the efforts of the Prosecutor General are really important, and I do not think they should stop or be paused just because the war continues. I think people deserve justice, and they deserve justice now.
After more than 3 months of war, people who have held out for this long are still looking to leave. The evacuations and the deep sense of separation and loss that come with them are a daily reality.
Jan-Philipp Scholz is still with us in Kyiv. Jan-Philipp, Ukraine is claiming it has recaptured large parts of Sievierodonetsk. What's the significance of that development, and can it be verified at this point?
We can't verify if they really recaptured the majority of Sievierodonetsk, but we can verify that they have pushed back Russian forces in many parts of the city, but the Russians are still fighting with heavy weapons in the region, and they are putting all their strengths into recapturing or into capturing the city, I should say. It's a highly important city. It's an administrative hub in the region, and it also has some important chemical industry. But most importantly, it's part of this small pocket of the Luhansk part of the Donbass region that is still at least partly under Ukrainian control.
And as those battles wage, supply lines in the east are becoming critical to both Russia and Ukraine. Do you know which side is having more trouble, perhaps, now replenishing troops and weapons in the area?
Well, for the Ukrainian side, the biggest challenge at the moment is that the promised heavy weapons from abroad will arrive, but all observers say this will probably still take some weeks until they are ready to use in the Donbas region. The Ukrainians also have to deal with heavy losses among their soldiers in the region. On the other hand, the Russians, as you know, they had severe problems with their supply lines in the first weeks of the war, but this problem for them has significantly reduced in the Donbas region in recent weeks. They can use a combination of heavy artillery, missile strikes and air raids, and so they make advances, but the advances are still much slower than many people predicted some weeks ago.
DW correspondent Jan-Philipp Scholz in Kyiv, thanks so much.
Let's cross to Sievierodonetsk, a member of the Ukrainian parliament and a leader of the political party Golos, who is currently in Dublin. Sievierodonetsk, it's now been more than 100 days since Russia invaded Ukraine. I'm curious, given the fact that at least at the moment there's no end in sight, how are you personally coping, and what do you hear from other Ukrainians?
Hello, thank you so much for having me. Well, we do understand that there needs to be a switch from the sprint to the marathon, and we are ready to this marathon. We do understand that it will be tough. We also do understand that we will have to gather our all resilience and all resolve and to make sure that we push them back. This is why I'm traveling right now, and this is why I'm calling for every single leader of every single country to give us what is necessary, to give us the weapons, to give us the money, to give us the supplies, so we can make this final push to push Russians back. Because while we have the support of our allies, while we have the resolve of our people, I'm very sure that we can win this war.
You talk about the international community coming together for these weapons. Germany and other Western countries have promised Ukraine more advanced weapons. With intense fighting going on in the Donbas, are you concerned about whether they will reach Ukrainian troops on time?
Yes, I'm concerned about that, because it's only now when we started receiving the weapons and supplies that we were promised like 2 to 3 months ago. The logistics is complicated. It's not Amazon Prime. We do understand that. But we also understand that our allies are working on making the logistics faster. And we do understand that they are trying to get it to us in time. So what we can do from our side is to make sure that logistics within Ukraine is working properly, and that once the weapons are crossing the border, we deliver it to the front as soon as possible.
As you well know, there have now been 6 sanctions packages directed against Russia. This week, the EU agreed on the latest, a ban on most oil imports. Is this enough in your view?
No, this is not enough. Well, first of all, these sanctions are half measures. So the EU allowed Hungary to push them back and allow partially the oil to be still used. Secondly, they will only start working in 6 months from now. So my people will have to stand still and fight for 6 months before they actually start working, because before European countries will stop paying $1 billion a day for Russian oil.
Understood. That is Sievierodonetsk, a member of Ukrainian parliament and a leader of the political party Golos. Many, many thanks.